My personal project, I decided to melt down aluminum cans in a foundry and then pour that molten aluminum into a mold to make a wrench. And so specifically, I wanted to melt down roughly 200 cans and then pour them into a mold. I was going to use green sand casting, but I ran out of time, so I used a different technique to do it. I wanted to do it by March 22nd when the project was due. That was kind of my end goal. And then I wanted to do it solely at my house so I didn't have to travel anywhere or like get any extra help. I wanted to learn how to do it all on my own. And I wanted to learn um, learn how to melt it all down and pour it. That was mainly about it. And I wanted to achieve this because I saw it online and I thought it would be challenging for me and fun, and I'd always wanted to kind of do it, and so I figured that this would be a good opportunity. So the global context that I chose was globalization and sustainability, because if like the world figure out how to like do this and they were able to create these like forges at their house, then they too could like just melt down metal, and then they would help like reduce landfills and that, and then help with like recycling so that there's less like garbage everywhere. And instead, people are like, making tools and stuff out of it, and it would help them out. This project is personal to me because it's just kind of something I've always wanted to do. I saw it on YouTube, like a guy that did it, and it just looked really fascinating. So I continued to like research it, and me and my brother, we always kind of wanted to do it together, and so I included him on the project, and it made it a lot of fun. And it was pretty fun to like challenge myself because melting down aluminum and pouring it, it's not exactly the easiest thing, and it's challenging because even like the best aluminum like melters and pourers, they don't even get it like correctly all the time. So it was hard for me to like build it and then melt it all down and all that. I already knew a little bit about this because I tried to do a forge using plaster and play sand, but it didn't work out really well because it was used charcoal and it was really inefficient and it didn't really get that hot. So I wanted to make a propane one using kale wool and a trash can instead, and it ended up working a lot better, and I could melt down the cans pretty much instantly. And for the research skills, I didn't really know much. I would research a topic, and then like click on the first link I saw, and that was about it. But with this project, I learned how to like dig deeper and like go to multiple sources, like watch different, use different like sources, so like websites and YouTube videos and different stuff like that. The criteria for this project, I basically thought about what I really wanted to accomplish, and that was to melt down a lot of cans and then be able to pour that into a mold to make like a tool or a knife or something of that sort. And so I came up with the idea to melt down roughly 100 to 200 cans and then successfully pour that into a mold with green casting sand, and then make a wrench, and then have my dad, my family use it, and give them a survey and to see if like the tool was 90% effective at least, so that I could prove the concept that like melting aluminum could be an effective way to make tools in the future. But I ended up I ended up not doing the survey because with my wrestling schedule, I fell behind on my scheduling and planning, and so I kind of had to rush it at the end, and because I didn't like stay up to date with my scheduling that I did, and so I had to go ahead and I did it like the last couple of days. I melted down the cans, and instead of using green sand casting, I just kind of dug like a wrench shape out in some sand, and then I poured the aluminum, and it still worked. It just wasn't as effective as I hoped for. So in the future, I still want to try to experiment with green sand casting so that I can make it even better. And that was pretty much the only criteria that I really changed. And because I still kept the melting 100 cans and then pouring it. It just wasn't green sand, and I didn't get a survey of it. For my timeline, I wanted to at least get the money for the forge in that by October 30th of 2017, and then I wanted to build it all by November 30th, and those didn't really like happen because I didn't really get everything done until March, March 10th ish, and I wanted to like by January 25th, I wanted to melt everything down and like test the forge, but I did do a test. It just was it was like a day before. Like I did a melt and then I did the final melt to get all the cans melted. And then I wanted to figure out how to do the proper mold, but I never ended up doing that, so I never really found out the best way to do it. But I plan on continuing to research that. And then I wanted by March 22nd to do another melt to try out a mold. And then April 30th, I wanted to do the final melt and final cast. But I ended up getting all the final cast done early. And to record my progress, I used my phone and my brother's phone, because my phone died at one point, to record different steps of the process. I didn't really record all the steps. Like, I forgot to record the building of it and that, but I have pictures of, like, the before and afters. And then those were the only, like, changes because I was wrestling at states and that, and I forgot to put that in my plans when I first planned it all out. At first, my self-management skills, they weren't as good as I would hope because I would kind of set a goal for myself and set out a plan to do it, but I would always fall behind and I wouldn't really like stay up to date on it, and then I'd kind of procrastinate and do it one day before. But with this, I kind of did it like ahead of time a little bit. Like I bought all the parts before it was like the last minute, so that because the propane like torch had to come from Britain, and so it had to ship for a while. And if I would have procrastinated, it probably wouldn't have gotten here in time. So it's my self management skills have improved a little bit, but I still have to work on that even more. I completed a lot of my goal. I didn't complete it all because I would really like to have done the green sand casting because I feel like that would have given me an even better result because I did get a wrench and it did work, but it took a lot like more time grinding it than it should have, and it would have been a lot easier if I had done the green sand casting. And my product and outcome actually it does work with the global context quite a bit because I do believe that I proved the concept that melting down aluminum can like result in a tool that is functional and you can use it. And so like if people started doing that, then they could just make their own tools instead of going out to stores and buying them, and then that would help reduce metal in the landfills and that, and so it would help with recycling. And that was the goal of my global context. And then I feel like the quality isn't as well as it should have been because it's really lumpy and it's pretty ugly, but it does work. It can unscrew it, but it doesn't like fit snugly and unscrew it well like a hand bought like a store bought wrench. It's pretty sloppy and it barely like fits in it, but it can unbolt things and that. Beforehand, my thinking skills, I didn't really think much about things like this. Like I would just kind of jump like head first. Like I'd watch one YouTube video and then say I can do that, and without doing any more research, I just kind of do it, and usually it would fail, and then I just stopped trying to like do it. But now, after this project, after all the research and stuff that I did, I realized that it was a smarter idea to like sit back and instead of just jumping headfirst into things, to do a bit more planning ahead of time and think more about the idea, think about like what I want to make and my goals, and then kind of lay out like a plan and schedule for it. That turns out a better product than what would have been created if I just rushed it. And communication wise, I'm about the same because the beginning, I wasn't really a good communicator. Like when I told my mom like what items I needed from Amazon so she could buy them while I was wrestling in that, um, I didn't really explain to her well enough like the exact items I need. So my communication skills are still pretty poor with that. So I need to work on that a little bit more. I didn't really make any like many changes to my goal, besides the way that I would cast it. Instead of using the green sand, I used just the with the styrofoam and pouring the aluminum on it, so that the aluminum melts out the styrofoam and replaces it. But it gives it a very rough and ugly look to it. And I feel like if I were to do it again, I would definitely include the green sand casting and schedule my time a little bit better, because then the product would be a lot better and the outcome would be a lot better, and the tool would probably look a lot better and work a lot better. And I kind of wish that I would have done that from the beginning. I believe that this project could really impact people. Like if people learned how to do this with the green sand casting and the melting down the aluminum, then they could make tools. Because right now, a lot of the like junkyards and that, they have like car parts and aluminum cans and just a bunch of aluminum that can be used but isn't, and so it's just kind of sitting there collecting dust, and like people could be taking those and melting them down. And so instead of letting the piles like build up of garbage that could be recycled, people then could like make tools and stuff out of them that could help them like do other stuff. Um, some of the strengths in completing the project is that I did pretty good research on it, so I kind of knew what I was doing. So when it did come down to crunch time of to like actually complete the project, I was able to get it done pretty easily. And I've been like planning this for a while, because I always knew that I kind of wanted to do like an aluminum forge. So I collected like 300 plus cans or something like that over last summer, and so they've just been sitting here. But I'd say the weaknesses are my scheduling, because because of that I wasn't able to do the green sand casting, which I really wanted to learn how to do, but I wasn't able to. Some of the challenges and solutions. The main challenge that I faced was when I poured it. I poured way too much aluminum in it, so the wrench turned out like really thick, and there was a lot of like excess that would like hinder the performance of the wrench. So I used an angle grinder, and I chopped off a lot of the excess, and then I ground in I used like a hand file to hand file out the hole where the wrench would go into the bolt to turn it, and so that took a lot of work to do that. And also I didn't have enough kail wool for the forge, so I just lined the bottom with bricks so that it would kind of be a little bit of a heat insulator. It would also raise the bottom up a little bit and give the crucible something flat to sit on. As a learner, I I feel like this has really helped my learning, because it's made it learning interesting for me, because I've created my own project, and researched something that I've been interested in, instead of just being given like a topic to write about or something. Like this is something that I've always kind of wanted to do, so it's always kind of interested me, and so I've like enjoyed learning about it and experiencing it and then reflecting on it to figure out how I can improve it in the future, if I like when I melt down more aluminum. Um, and the future impact that my project could have on my learning is that I would probably use this process again, because it worked out so well, because it kept me from like being overly stressed about it. Because if I kind of stayed to the schedule, which I kind of did with the personal project and writing all that, but like in the end I kind of fell off track, but it did really help like reduce the stress, so I wasn't doing it all like March 21st right before the project was due. I'm gonna include pictures and videos of the actual process itself. of like the melting down of the aluminum and like making of the forge and all that.